Hello and welcome back to the Emotionless podcast. This is Title 9, Part 19, Episode 30, called February 10th, 2021. The next, 4 or 5 episodes, I think, are all just dates. And they're all just dates because of their significance and the events that occurred only on those days. Now, the next two kind of bleed into each other because they're one day after the next, but the rest of them are normal. So anyways, this episode is February 10th, 2021, which is the date that the alleged incident that sparked this whole thing occurred. I want to make it very clear that I do not have the best memory in the world, so I'm going to recount the events to the best of my ability. I am going to leave a couple details out for privacy reasons, but yeah. This is probably going to be a part 1 and part 2, but we'll go with what we can. So a little bit of background information for you. This friendship that I had with Claire and Justin and Harry and Claire, Justin, Harry, Ryan, Karen, Olivia, was very loosey-goosey, touchy-feely. There was no rules, so to speak. There was one big rule, which is don't bring up certain topics around Claire, because she's had beyond her fair share of experiences. And so there's a couple things that are very touchy-feely for her, which is totally understandable and totally okay. But other than that, there's no strict rules. So, I basically considered this friendship a strip club. I never would, because 1, decency, 2, respect for myself, and 3, I don't need anybody seeing that, and 4, I don't need that videotaped, or photographed. People would, whip out their junk, whip out their butts, whip out their boobs, fuck each other in front of us, which only happened once, but it still happened. Just ridiculous shit. And we would touch each other in no squares. There was nothing that was off limits, which I always thought was entertaining. So all I remember about that night was it started out like any other night. We were hanging out, listening to music, cooking food, talking about our day. We were just a typical group of idiots at college. And Claire goes, I'm tired, I want to go lay down. And she's like, Harry, come with me. And so she's like, Harry and Ryan, come with me. So they do. I stay in the living room with Justin and Karen and Olivia. But then later on, Justin goes next door where he lives, and Karen and Olivia go back to their apartments. So at this point, it is just me, Harry, Claire, and Ryan in the apartment. And their respective roommates. Which I think was... there was this one kid named Steven. That was his name. No, it's not. But we're gonna call him Steven. And I think that was it. Yeah, it was just the 3 of them in that apartment. And then Claire basically lived there. And so we go back into Harry's room. Well, I'm still in the kitchen at this point cooking, and I don't know where Steven was. I think Steven was hanging out actually with Rebecca, Rachel, and Jessica. And breathe, look, you can tell this story. You are not the monster they paint you to be. Sorry, had to give myself a quick pep talk. So I'm cooking something in the kitchen and I'm cleaning up because when I say this apartment was disgusting, Disgusting doesn't even begin to describe it. I mean, mold everywhere. There was a fucking chicken that we stuffed peanut butter in on the counter. Don't ask. I don't know. I don't even remember. I really don't. There was Slurpee cups and pizza boxes and Chinese food containers and Olive Garden to-go containers everywhere. Just crap everywhere. And, I don't even know, man. I really don't. I don't know what we were honestly thinking that night. And I think we were a little bit under the influence of different kinds of drugs, some of which I unknowingly had taken, because I was told they were one thing and they were actually another thing. But I go back into Harry's room, check on them, see what they're doing, because I hear a bunch of giggling and laughing, and I'm like, I want to be part of that. And Claire is laying on Harry's bed with not no shirt on, but like her shirt above her breasts. It's like a tank top, crop top thing. Like it's got like no sleeves and it's like cropped. And Harry is giving her a massage. And then Ryan is sitting right behind them. And I'm like, oh, kinky. And she's like, oh, shut up. She's like, shut up, Logan. No one asked. Like in a playful tone. And I'm like, I don't remember how. I'm going to be honest. I really do not remember how. But I end up massaging Claire. And, again, at this point, it's just me, Harry, Claire, and Ryan in the room. When Claire later testified, she claimed that Karen was in the room, but I do not remember. I do not remember Karen in the room at all during the events of this night. So I'm giving Claire a massage. I'm like straddling on top of her, but like not putting weight on her. Like if she wanted to leave at any point, she could have. She could have pushed me off easily. I'm a giant marshmallow. Like, yeah, I might weigh 280 pounds, but you can push me over easy peasy lemon squeezy. Like, I am the most unstable physically and mentally person you will ever meet. So I am, I'm in the room with them and I'm giving her a massage. And I will admit I crossed a line and I slapped Claire on the butt much harder than I had intended to. It was supposed to be a playful little slap and it was very, very hard, and I will admit that. And she screamed out, as would anyone. And she's like, oh my God, Logan, don't do that again. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I did not mean for that to be that hard. That was really bad. Are you okay? Do you need an ice pack? Do you want me to take a look at it? Now, later in Claire's testimony, which we will get into later, she recounts that she immediately pulled down her pants and took a picture of the mark on her rear end. Here's the thing, though, is in the picture that that was submitted as evidence, she is wearing different pajamas than she was in the photo where I'm on top of her. So, framed photo. But, people do different things when they need to get away with something. And I want to reiterate, in case it was made unclear at any point, I'm very frustrated with how this situation was dealt with. I don't think Claire is a monster. I don't think Claire is a terrible person. I don't think Claire belongs in prison. I don't think Claire doesn't deserve to graduate. I don't think Claire doesn't deserve a happy life. I don't think Claire doesn't deserve to have amazing kids and a family and go on a Bahama vacation. I don't think poorly of Claire. I think poorly of the school. I think poorly of Cheryl Nichols. I think poorly of Craig Marcus. And I don't even think poorly of the investigator who investigated this, because they were given poor information. That is not on Claire and not on the investigator. Claire may have been the one to report me, but that doesn't make her a monster. Like, I don't know what else to say. Anyways, so I I also squeezed Claire's breasts, which is something we would do. I'd walk up to her all the time, and I would just go honk, and just squeeze her breast, and then she'd go back honk back to me. It was like a handshake, so to speak. Like we were super touchy feely. She would literally like rub my stomach and be like, "Oh, how are the babies?" You know, like which always made me a little uncomfortable. But again, I think that's because I'm gay and I just don't like being touched by women. It just makes me uncomfortable because I'm gay. But that's besides the point. So Claire, I'm gonna have to go into a part 2, but so an hour and a half passes after this climax situation happens. Because when I was on top of Claire, we took several photos. She's sticking her tongue out. She's having a good time. I'm laughing. She's laughing. There's like one photo where she looks upset, which is the one photo she submitted. But I submitted the other ones, and you can tell that she was very not upset with what was going on. So, next thing I know, this is the night before my birthday, February 10th. My birthday is February 11th. It kind of bleeds into the morning. This happened between 10:30 and 12 a.m. And so, by this point, it's like 11:40, 11:45, 12, 1, 12:15, something around there. And I'm sucking on a vape pen. I think it was something called a puff bar, I think is what they called it. Well, I'm not going to, no, that was a different night. Never mind, ignore me. I go and get Claire because I was in the Villages complex and I lived in the Woodward complex, which was like, it wasn't like a horrible walk, but it's like just sketchy because it's very poorly lit sidewalks. Whoa. Hang on one moment. Okay. Sorry, I did take some allergy medicine. So I asked Claire if she can give me a ride home, and she says yes, and that's where I'm going to end this episode. Part 2 will be up literally immediately, just because I don't want to take a risk going overtime. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed. Make sure you follow us on all of our social medias. It's officially Emotionless on TikTok. Emotionless.podcast.official on Instagram, and emotions_podcast on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And enjoy the next and rest of this series, or check out some of our other series and or episodes, including the water park ones. Those are some of my favorites. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.